All right. Before we start, one announcement, another opportunity. So, anyone is there anyone member of IGDA here? We do have a IGDA chapter here, I believe. No, nobody. A member of GATIC. Okay, we do have GATIC members. Good, good. So we do. I think we do have IGDA chapter. I mean, we used to have it last year, so I think we still have it. So IGDA is basically they just opened their IGDA scholar like competition slash selection criteria opened, okay. And then this time you don't have to. I mean, there's no fee to apply, and you don't have to be IGDA member to apply. So try to check this out. And this is a pretty prestigious scholar like award. Okay? So at your leisure, try to go and check this out. Okay? So IGDA Foundation is especially for kind of like it's good for game designers. And you can also go to igda.org. And you can get to know what they do. So at your leisure, try to kind of visit the site. And IGDA is an International Game Designers Association. This is a pretty like recognizable organization. Okay? So each year they accept applications for IGDA Scholar, and then you get invited to GDC, and you would have special opportunities to personal like networking with other IGDA members at GDC. And I think 3 years ago or 2 years ago, when they started this IGDA Scholars Program, 2 out of 27 IGDA scholars awarded were GMU students. So both of them got a job right away, right after they graduate, because I mean, it's hard to say like they got a job because of the networking from this event or being IGDA scholar, but definitely it helped them. It definitely shines like their resume, okay? Especially if you are a game designer. Okay? So try to visit the site. Probably you will not get selected this year, but probably like in a year or two, you might have better chance. So try to get to know the process and be aware that there is this IGDA Scholars Program, and it usually opens October, and then once you get selected, you'll get invited to their special meeting and award ceremony at GDC the following year. All right. At unit number 4. Now, catch game. Oh, no. Not this one. This one, okay, there's the backbone of catch game structure. Right now, the simple catch games due is Wednesday next week. Technically, you can finish this game like today, but I'm going to actually add one more section here because I usually cover how to build your game for Android device in 4-4. So here, creating an app with Unity. In this lesson, I go over how to deploy your game for Android device. But actually, I'm going to do that on Thursday. Okay? So that I'm going to do this how to deploy your game for Android device on Thursday. And then I'm going to do it again when we will talk about creating a simple app with Android device. Okay? But anyways, okay. So for this project, you will kind of create something for your something and then deploy to your Android device. And now you might say, oh, I do not have Android device and I think Apple is better than Android. How many of you guys have iPhone? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wow. Okay, the reason why we don't talk about deploying our game to iOS system is because to do that you have to you need to have an Apple computer. Okay? So mainly and then like in game industry right now, because there are more people using Android OS, so we are developing something for Android OS. So now you kind of understand, like sometimes you will see me, I usually use Mac, but sometimes I bring like my PC laptop because I sometimes have to work with PC and Mac at the same time. Like actually today I brought my PC because I just finished one project and then I have to create simple tutorial on how to use that app I created in both PC and Mac. So here, if I use Mac because time to time I have to create something for iOS, but if you want to create something for iOS, you have to use a Mac. Okay? And because if you don't have iPhone, I'll try to see how many Android phone I have. I mean, our program has probably about like 30 to 40 Android phone. So I'm going to make an arrangement for you to come in and borrow those Android phones. Okay? So if you use iPhone, yeah, iPhone sucks. It's too expensive. Anyways. So I'm going to make that arrangement so that you can kind of borrow Android phone. And then I can possibly go over how to do the deploy your game to using Android. I mean Mac. Usually there's one more step. Usually what they do is you actually deploy your game project to Xcode, and from Xcode you actually deploy your game to iOS. So I guess like industry at this point is more like a closer to Android development, I would say. And then quite honestly, in game industry, there's more money in PC and Android device. So if you go work at any game studio, they'll probably use PC and make something for PC and Android device. Anyways, so I'm going to go over that on Thursday. So here, I don't have that right now, but I'm going to create something today so that you can take a look at it on Thursday. All right. The backbone of catch game structure. So in this lesson, what we're going to do is we'll look at kind of concept of game design again. Okay, I mentioned that modular design last time. So a lot of times when you try to create a new game, okay, it's not like everything will be completely new. A lot of times we are going to use what we already know. I sometimes call them module. Okay? So we play with that module. It's like the same as kind of Lego blocks. We do have that Lego blocks. You can use your own creativity to create completely something new. But then again, if you really take a look at it, you are playing with the blocks you already have. And the same thing in game design. A lot of times you are going to use techniques or skill sets you already know, already have. Okay, okay, backbone of catchy game structure. So first thing you can do, you can download this one, Dwarf Gold game. Fairly simple game. And I'm going to open it. So this one, if you take a look at, go to scenes, main scene, this is original game. And you can play this. Start. So fairly simple game. This one has the mouse control. You have to use mouse to control the position of your dwarfs. So let's try to think about, okay, how we can recreate this game. Okay? And when we do that, we usually think about, oh, let's try to find out some familiar game mechanics. Okay? So let's try to think about or try to visualize. Let's say you got internship as a like junior game developer or game designer, and then your project team lead said, oh, we are going to create this simple catch game, okay? Something similar to this Dwarf Gold. And you probably have to think about, oh, crap, I don't know how to do that. But then again, now you have to think about, oh, I have to improvise, I have to think about what I already know, and then try to think about what I do not know and try to figure that out. Okay? So here, if you think about it, okay, let's try to think about what we already know. Okay. For now, let's think about this as the same as we're not going to use this mouse movement today. Let's say this is something we're going to use a keyboard for now. If that's the case, okay, we know how to do player control, okay, with keyboard, not with the mouse yet, but keyboard we know. Okay. And then some folding object. Like how can we create this folding object? Anybody? Anthony? How would you make that folding object?
How I would create that folding object is have a spread and then add a physics.
So this is, I mean, particle system, but like yes, physics and we need to just add rigid body 2D with gravity, something will fall down. And then try to think about the interaction between that falling object and the treasure chest. Okay. Well, if you catch it, it will disappear, meaning probably destroy its unit with on trigger enter 2D, right? So we sort of know, probably you wouldn't have like a really super clear idea of how to create this, but you would know. You would know, oh, maybe if I try this, it might work. Okay? So let's try to think about that, okay? And using what we only know, okay? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually, if you follow this video tutorial, I used this 2D Pong game as my base. Okay. I used this 2D Pong game. Okay. So I'll probably mimic what I did in this video tutorial. So you can download that 2D Pong game under class recordings, file created or use it in class demo, and this one, catch game, October 8, start file, Goku Pong. So I'm going to use that. Or you can use your well, technically, the reason why I'm using this 2D Pong is I'm going to use a keyboard movement for now. And Thursday, I'm going to change that to mouse movement. But for now, I'm going to use 2D Pong game, or you can use breakdown, whatever file you have. So this is what I have. So now I think of it, I'll try to think about what I need. I actually don't need my ball, so I don't need it, so I'm going to delete it. Pedal left, pedal right, I just need one, so I'm going to delete it. So I have this pedal left. But here, what I can possibly do, you can rotate them. Okay. So here, I can rotate it. Oops. So I need this one pedal now. Okay. This one now, okay. Or actually, okay. So I need this one pedal. Okay. I'll just turn this off, or eventually I'm going to erase it. Okay. I don't need this guys, but I just need this guy. Okay. This pedal left and right. And then this one though, if you look at the pedal movement, This one uses move up and down. Okay. But instead up and down, I need right and left. And then this one should be changed to X because we're going to move it on the X axis. Oops. And I have few errors, so I'm going to take care of them. Oh no. So actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to like quit it, don't save it for now. And I'll actually reopen it. Okay. I'll kind of start it again. Okay. So again, what I'm going to do, I'll just turn off a few things for now. Eventually, I'm going to erase it. And when you erase it, you have to think about a few things because some of this script are using or try to call this game object. So that's why sometimes you get error if you use it after erasing some of like few game object. Okay, but first thing I'm going to turn this off and then I'm going to use this one. Okay, for this one though now in pedal movement I'm going to change it to right and left. Okay. And now I'm going to play this. Oops. Okay. Left. This one, pedal movement. Okay. Right. We need to change it to X axis. Okay. And then maybe I'm going to change this to now right arrow and left arrow. Okay. And now actually there's an error, null reference exception, object reference not set to an instance of an object. Okay, so this one, oh, okay. So this is why, like, sometimes you have to go through your game, okay, whenever you need to make changes. Okay, so this one now, what's happening is this guy trying to access to the ball game object, okay, but we actually turn that off. So we have to comment this out. Okay. Then I'm going to save it and clear project. So now there is no, yeah. And then pedal left right now, okay. This one somehow still doesn't work, okay. So what I'm going to do, this little debugging or, so this is pedal movement I have, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to just put this one here. Okay, oops. Okay. I'm going to have just one little thing here. Oh no. And then try to see rigid body 2. So basically what I'm trying to do now is for my pedal left, okay, for my pedal left, I have rigid body 2D, box collider, and pedal movement script, which I change it to move right and left with x-axis. Okay. Somehow this guy doesn't work. So I'm trying to test it out with other game objects. So I'm going to use, rigid body 2D. Rigid body 2D and mass as 0, gravity as 0. And then I'm going to add that script pedal movement. Okay. And then this pedal movement somehow still bring up and down arrow. Okay. That is actually really weird. Okay. And okay, so here, okay. So here, this one somehow still giving me up and down arrow, meaning, yes, so somehow I changed it, but that change wasn't really reflected. Okay, so I'm going to change this. Okay. So that means basically what really happened was, because I closed previous project and reopened it, so I thought I was changing this one, okay, but actually I was changing the file that was attached to the previous project. Okay. So sometimes, I mean, this thing's kind of necessary for you to understand why like that types of error happened. Okay. So now I can come back here and simply update this guy. Okay. Right, left, right, left, and X, X, and X. So now it should work. Save it and pedal left, and now it got changed to right arrow and left arrow, so you can move this guy left and right. Yeah. Now one thing we can do is we can rotate this guy. We can rotate this pedal, okay, so that it will face this way. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put it at the center for now, and then rotate it. So rotating it is, if you rotate it in X, okay, it actually rotated this way, okay, and Y rotating this way, and Z rotating this way. So we want to rotate it like this way. Okay. So maybe just 90 degree, and then put it somewhere here. Okay. So now I have something like this. And now let's try to think about how to create falling object. Okay. Falling object, something simple. I'm going to do this. I'll put it here. Okay. And for this guy to fall down, probably we can use gravity scale in rigid body 2D. So add component, physics 2D, rigid body 2D, and I will just leave mass as 1 and gravity scale 1 and see how fast it falls down. So I'm going to play. So it will fall down with that speed. Okay, so now if I want to catch that, okay, the simple game mechanic we can use is we can actually make it interact with other game object by adding collider. And then whenever there's collision, I can destroy it, right? So I'm going to add collider. Okay. Physics 2D, and here for now I'm going to use circle collider, okay, and it will add this green circle around my game object. I might need to change its size. Okay. To do that, I can simply click edit collider under inspector window. So circle collider 2D, and then I'm going to click edit collider, and what's happening now is there's 4 square appears, and you can hold down that square to adjust its size. Okay. And then you can even use different offset number, okay, to make it on the top of this main area. Okay. Now, there is collider, and my pedal has collider too. So now you can possibly interact with this object. And now I realize because we do have collider on the top wall, it actually stay there. So what happened was something like this. I'm going to change the size of my main camera. Okay. And then play it. So it actually fell down, but because this top wall has collider in it, so it actually stays there. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my wall, and then top wall, I'm going to turn it off. Actually, I have to, yeah. So now, as you can see, you can actually kind of catch it. Okay. But what we want to do is, okay, we want to catch this. Okay? And then that will affect our score. Okay? So now, one thing we can do something simple here. We already have box collider. And I'm going to use is trigger select is trigger. And then I'm going to create new script. Okay. Basically, it will be same as on trigger enter 2D. And I'm going to say, I mean, this could be, in terms of game mechanics, it could be same as destroy on contact. Okay. So here, by looking at it, I actually don't have destroy on contact, so I can say destroy on contact. Okay. And now open that. Okay. This one will be same as something we used it before, on enter trigger 2D. Okay. So again, in this case, if you want to do it a little faster, you can kind of look at your other script. Here, wall left, wall right, something like that. We do have this part. Okay. On trigger enter 2D. Okay. So I'm going to open, in this case, I'm going to open this wall left collision. Okay. And copy this part. On trigger enter 2D. And then try to see what I really need. I don't have to reset the ball. I need to have some score, and then I have to destroy this game object. Okay. This one, I'm going to think about how we can do this in a moment. Okay. But the idea is, if there's contact, it gets destroyed. So I'm going to save this and test it. I'm going to come back to this in a moment. Okay. But now, it actually doesn't work. Okay. The reason why is I had this error. Okay. Well, actually, I don't have any error. Okay. So now, did I save it? This one. Okay. One thing I realized, I actually added my script on top wall. Okay. I did a stupid thing. Okay, I'll remove this. So here, this guy, I'm going to select is trigger, and now I'm going to add destroy on contact, and it should work fine. So it just got destroyed. Okay. So now though, let's try to think about score system. Okay. For score system, we had it in HUD in Game Manager. Okay. We have score 1 and 2. Okay. So probably for now, I'm going to have score and timer. Okay. I'm going to worry about timer later. Okay. But for now, I'm going to think about score. I'll focus on score. Okay? And this is a score. Okay? And all these things now, I technically don't need it at this point. Okay? So I'm going to comment this out. Comment this out because I don't have to really use it. Okay? Actually, so I'm going to comment this out, this part. So on GUI, I still need to have that. If you open curly braces here, you have to leave one curly braces to close it. Okay. Or for now, maybe I can do this. Just to show you what you need. Okay. We just need one score, okay, for now. And then, whenever this guy gets destroyed, we are going to give now game manager score plus 1. And I'll save this and play. Oops. Okay, now, okay, sometimes this is something happen once you erase something, okay, you have to make sure you have to erase other things that's trying to use that. Okay. So I'll just comment this out. Okay. And save. And play. I have another thing. Okay. I'll comment this out and play. So score was 0, now 1 because I catch that. Okay, 0 to 1. And now, we have to think about this thing. Okay? If you just play this, what just happened here is we do have this bottom wall with collider attached to it. I didn't catch it, but this guy fell onto this bottom wall and gave that score. Okay? So we don't want that. We want to make sure. Okay? So here, I'm going to go back to my destroy on contact. Okay? Especially for this guy, we want to have some sort of like checking point. Okay? We want to check whether we are colliding into the right object. Okay. That's something we want to think about. So we want to have if this game object collides to the pedal, okay, we are going to do this. Okay. So there are many ways to do this. Okay. And I want to see what I use it in the system. But again, there's are many different ways to do. So here, for instance, we can do if, okay, we are colliding into that thing. So Now, I want you to kind of think about this, what's happening here, this void on trigger enter to the collider to the other. Okay? So basically, okay, we can actually see this one. Okay? If you look at this one, okay, this is function, okay, on trigger enter 2D. I have this parenthesis open and close. There's something inside, meaning it will pass this particular data, okay, into this function. Okay. Collider to the other means it actually has an ability, okay, to recognize other game object that is colliding into. So now, I'll actually try to do this. Destroy other game object. Okay. And let's see what's going to happen. Save it. So what just happened here is, okay, now we are recognizing, okay, whatever this guy collide into as this other. So now I put it destroy other dot game object. Now it will destroy whatever game object this guy collide into. Okay. This one actually can be changed. So here, if you think about it, when we put this is kind of green color. When we use other, it's black color, meaning this one is arbitrary name. We decided right over here. So if you change this one to something like collider to the test, collider to the ha ha ha, okay, and then basically ha 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 becomes the game object or object that this guy collide into. Okay. So now we can save it. It will still works. Okay, so you get to destroy all these things. So now, okay, the reason why I use other is to understand we are passing the game object we are colliding into. And now here, we have to think about this. So if, okay, other game object equals the player, okay, like player, or pedal left, we want to give, okay, this is not going to work, but the logic is something like this. If the colliding object we're collide into is pedal left, we are going to give, okay, 1 point to score. Okay. That's basically what we're trying to do. It's not going to work, but that's the logic. Okay, so if you play this, whoops, I have to catch it to see that error. Okay. So now actually I got score 2. Okay. Okay. Because it didn't work. Okay. So now let's try to think about how we can recognize that left pedal. Any idea? Any suggestion? Tag. Because we are trying to use what we already used it before. If you remember in 2D Pong, okay, in that ball movement, okay, oops, not ball movement, like game manager, sorry. Where's game manager? Okay, game manager. At the beginning, we actually recognize that ball using game object dot find game object with tag the name of the tag. So we are going to actually use this line into here. And then we have to look at the tag. The left, I'm going to use player tag. Okay. Open it. Player is one of the default tag. So I'm going to choose player tag. Not this one. And here, I'm going to say player. So if I collide into the game object with the tag player, I'm going to have 1 point. Okay. So I'm going to save it and play. So now I only got 1 point. And now you can actually test that out too, right? So here, just for now, actually, I'm going to put this guy. Oh, actually, this one should be this now. Okay. So now, I'll save it. And score 1. And now it got destroyed, but there's no score. Okay. So now, let's say this one is our falling object, falling obj1. Okay. And I can duplicate this and put it somewhere here. Okay. And then duplicate one more. Okay. So now I have 3 falling objects. And I can do, whoa, okay, something like this. But now you realize, technically, you can make this really small. And then put like 30 or 40, even like 100 falling objects up here. You can make a game, right? But obviously, that might not be the best way to do, because we cannot just put like 100 falling object here. I mean, that's not the good way to create a game. Okay? So now, what we can do. So now I want you to kind of think about, instead of doing this, okay, maybe we can make this guy as prefab, okay, and instantiate this thing instead of doing this. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, okay, I'm going to get rid of this too. I'm going to make this one as prefab, okay? But the issue is, okay, now, okay, okay, actually, I'll delete this for now. Okay. Okay. I have this guy here, okay. Okay. So this is falling object 1. Okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to make this one as prefab. Okay. So I'll simply drag it to the assets folder, and I have this falling object 1. Okay. And I'm going to get rid of it, delete it. Okay. Again, for now, we are going to try to use things we already know. Okay. So I'm going to go to my game manager. Or you can create new script. It really doesn't matter. Okay. What I'm going to do, maybe I'm going to create new script, actually. I'm going to add new script. I'm going to have make them fall or something. Okay, so I do have this guy. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is, okay, we are going to use instantiate. Okay. And then, okay, we will try to instantiate this falling object maybe every 20 seconds or every second or two, or something like that. Okay. So this is what we can do. Okay. If you remember instantiating, okay, try to remember what we did before. Okay. We probably need to do public transform. Okay. I'll say falling obj1. So, and then another thing is, if you actually see something like this, this means my computer isn't working properly. This guy just doesn't process my script fast enough. So it just give me an error, all these things. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to save all, I'll quit, and try to open it again. And now it should be good. Okay. So now, okay, what we're going to do at the beginning, let's try to instantiate this thing. Okay. Instantiate, again, you don't have to memorize all these things. Okay. You can always copy and paste. But instantiate, whatever you type, it will actually come up here. So instantiate, okay, and prefab, or in this case, falling object 1. Okay, this is what I'm going to instantiate. Okay, and where new vector 3. This is position. Okay, and this one for now, I'm going to put 0, 0, and 0. I'm going to change this number later. Okay. And then I'm going to say quaternion dot identity, meaning there is no Eulian angle change, or in simpler term, there's no rotation. Okay. So if I do this, I'm going to instantiate this falling object at 0, 0, 0 at the beginning of my game. So I'll save it. And then now in HUD, this is make them fall and falling object 1. I'm going to drag this one right over here. Okay. And then it will appear at 0, 0, 0. You saw this like here. Okay. Now I realize I have to change in my position, X, Y, Z. So Y, probably I'm going to put like 12. Save. So now it gets instantiated up here and falls down. Okay. And now, okay, because we have only like 13 minutes, I'm going to finish this first and then stay if you have any questions. But again, like we will review this again like next time, and like better tutorials right over here. So try to watch that. All right. So now I want you to think about this concept. Okay. What we're going to do, we actually, if you put something in start, it only happens once at the beginning. What if I put this guy in update? Then see what's going to happen. It's weird. Well, actually, what's happening here is it instantiates my falling object, okay, too fast. So they actually, okay, maybe I can show you this way. Okay. So here, what's happening here is it instantiates my falling object every single frame. Okay. But what's happening here is they collide into each other and get destroyed. Okay. That's basically what's happening here. So meaning it does this too quick. So now I want to use my logic. Okay. Instead of doing this every single frame, I'm going to do something like this. I'm going to make my own timer. Okay. Here I'm going to say int timer, okay, equal 0 at the beginning. Okay. And then every single frame, okay, I'm going to make timer plus plus, meaning it will become one more, like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And then I'm going to say if timer 2 equal sign equals 30. I'm going to instantiate this. Oops. I'm going to instantiate this and make timer equal 0. So now this is a super simple way to create your own timer. Okay. And then in game 140, if you took it or if you are taking it now, this uses a lot to create some cooldown effect or cooldown timer. After 30 seconds, destroy it or something. Okay. So at the beginning it's 0. In update, it will become like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once it reaches 30, it will instantiate my falling object, and then timer gets reset. And then start it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 30, and it instantiated. Okay. So now, I'm going to save it and play. But still too fast though. So now, actually, I need a little more cooling time. So maybe I'm going to go back, maybe 60, and see what's going to happen. So now 60 is a little better, okay, with 60. And now you realize, oh, it only falls down at one position. That's not fun. So now what we are going to do, we are going to randomize this. Before we instantiate this thing, I'm going to put float rand y equal random.range. Okay. This one will be my y coordinate. So should be x coordinate. Should be rand x. And then here, look at my x. Left wall is minus 9.5 and y would be 9.5. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create or generate random number between negative 8.0 f and 8.0 f. Okay, that will be my random x. And then I'm going to say, instead of 0, put rand x. And now I'm going to save it. Now, when you play it, so now as you can see, it actually randomized x coordinate. Okay, and falls down in different positions. And now I'm going to do one more thing. Okay. I'm going to have this guy. Okay. And then I'm going to change his color. Okay. And then this guy, I'm going to use the same logic, like rigid body 2D. Okay. And then I'm going to have circle collider. Okay. Smaller. Okay. And then this one will be falling object 2. Okay. And then I'm going to use is trigger. And this time, okay, maybe new script. Okay. Bad object. Okay. And this bad object, same as destroy on contact, same thing. But what I want to do is this one will take away 2 points. Okay. So if you catch a red object, you will lose 2 points. So I'll save it. And then this one will be another. So here, I have this red falling object 2 now. Okay. And now, there's many different ways to do this. Okay. I'm going to show you one way, and then I'm going to show you another way in a moment. So here, falling object here. Okay. I can actually make another script, new script. Okay. Make bad fall or something. Okay. And create an add. This one, falling object 2. It does the same thing, but make it falling object 2 in different position. Okay. But this one then wouldn't be that entertaining. I mean, we can do this as like 90, okay, and then see actually how it works. Okay. I actually changed it wrong thing. Okay, this one is make them fall. Okay, 1, 1. Okay, so the idea is I can use the same thing. Okay, I can use the same thing and copy this here. Okay. I can use the same thing for this guy. This one may be a different interval. Okay. And then this one. Okay, so now I have this falling object 1 and 2 falling down with different interval. So this one's good. Oh, but they actually collided. So now, if you catch a red one, your score will be negative. Okay. But here, this is actually one way to do it. But probably better way to do it is, I'm going to actually get rid of this make bad fall. I'm going to remove this. I'm going to go back to make them fall. And here, instead of 1, I'm going to actually instantiate 2 things. Okay, and make falling object 1 and 2. And then here, I'm going to have another random number generator. Float rand good or bad. Okay. Random.range. This one would be negative 1.0f and 1.0f. So this one is 50-50 basically. And then here, if rand good or bad is less than 0, okay, I'm going to do this. Okay. I'm going to make good thing fall down, and else, okay, I'm going to make the bad object fall down. So now I realize I'm going to have better percentages. So I'm going to use like if it's less than 0.5, that means 75% of the time it will instantiate good object, and 25% of time it will instantiate bad object. Okay. So let's see how it works. So now I'm using like probability. So now 75% of time it will generate good object. And actually there's an error. Oh, the reason why is I didn't actually put my falling object too. Okay, so that's why. So again, 75% of time you'll do this. So as you can see, you see more of white falling object and less red object. And another thing you can think about is, if you want to have different level, this number can be changed based upon the level. So here, what you can do is, okay, we don't have that much time. Like I can make up like a float, okay, level difficulty, okay, at the beginning 0.5 F, okay. So this one will be level diff, okay. So actually I have to put this one up here. I'm going to explain that probably Thursday. So now at the beginning it's 0.5, but if now game manager dot score is greater than 10, okay, I'm going to say level diff is now 0.0 F, okay, and I can have, if score is greater than 15, now this will be negative 0.5, meaning now at the level 1, 75% of the time it will fall down a good object. Level 2, it will be 50-50. Level 3, only 25% of the time it will fall down the good object. Anyways, I know like quite honestly, I didn't talk about any new stuff, well, except that timer. Okay. Well, I actually used it everything we know except that timer. Okay. So Thursday I'm going to review this, and probably I will kind of slow down a little bit and then talk about other things. But I want you to know that in game design and development, I mean, this is something will happen. I mean, you always play with what you already know and try to figure out something you don't know. Okay, so be confident and then try to always, I mean, review and reinforce what you already know. All right, I will see you guys on Thursday, and have a great rest of the day.